Just preparing to go live, and I'll give you a few seconds. Just preparing to. Okay. So once again, good evening, everybody. I'm going to share my screen. If you can see my screen, please let me know that you can see it. And I will start. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay, thank you. All right, so this webinar is about parents and child support to manage back to school anxiety. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Abia Sonia, and this webinar is being done by a consultancy. So I am just going to move on to the next slide. So I'm sure a lot of us would have thought, oh, the 6 weeks holiday is going to be a long one. But to be honest, it does. It flies really, really fast. And before you know it, we are counting, as we're counting down to go on summer holiday, we're also counting down to go back to school. So that is the story of life. And for parents and children is a mixed emotion. Some of them are excited, and at the same time, some are anxious for various reasons, which is understandable. So the most understood that is anxiety, because we are having this mixed emotion, and then we are feeling a little bit apprehensive as to what is going to happen. Or for those that are going to the same school, they are feeling, oh, what else? The assignments, the homework they have to do, and every other thing. And it's for different reasons that people have okay, just logging people in. It's for different reasons that people have this anxiety. But anxiety is a feeling that we all feel. So for example, I'm sure at some point in your life, you felt anxiety. If you know you have ever felt anxiety apart from back to school, you've ever felt anxiety before, just type yes, yes, yes in the chat, right? Because I know that apart from back to school anxiety, at different points in our life, we may have experienced anxiety. And when you experience anxiety, oh, okay, I can see the chat. Let me see. I am anxious currently. Okay, sis. So hopefully, Yemisi says she's anxious. Oh, Dupsy said yes. Mine is red. You've been working all day. Oh, thank you so much, Dupsy, for taking our time to still join us. I appreciate your time. So, okay, you see, a lot of us, we've been a state of anxiousness before. So thank you for sharing that. And when you are in this state, when I'm feeling anxious, I just want to go to the toilet and just sit down there. Please don't laugh at me. I'm being vulnerable here. I just want to sit down in the toilet because I don't know what my stomach is saying. I don't know what my head is saying. And I'm sweating, and then sometimes I can't even sleep well. I have bad sleep. So if any of those signs sound similar to yours, then just let me know. If you're going through a state of anxiety, what comes up for you? How do you normally experience anxiety? If you can drop that in a chat session, that would be so good. It's a state that will drive you, the feeling that will drive you to fight, flight, or freeze. So imagine you are going to this interview that you've always wanted, a job that you've always wanted. You will be anxious. You have an exam to write, you'll be anxious. You have a business deal, you'll be anxious. So that is just for most adults. So now when we're talking about children, you can imagine the anxiety they'll be going through when there is a lot of mixed emotions. Okay, I can see. And Bash said for me, it can be tummy discomfort. I resonate with that. And she said, other time I just feel immensely tired. I resonate with that as well. We all feel anxiety in different ways, but at some point, there'll be some similarities that we all share when we're in a state of anxiety. Right. I'm going to share with you my experience with anxiety in different phases. So as a teacher, I have had anxiety before. How did that happen? I was not anxious about what to teach. I was actually anxious about the school I was going to be teaching at. At that point, I've been teaching for 6 years. I've taught in men's schools, community schools, I've taught in grammar school, And then all of a sudden, the contract ended. I had to look for another job, and I got a job in a behavioral and emotional disorder school. So when I got this job, in the interview, I said, okay, let me ask a question. When they will ask you, do you have a question? And I said, what happened to the previous teacher? And I was informed that two students were fighting, and then they snapped the neck of the teacher. So now he's using the neck support. My heart sunk. So just imagine, I felt like picking my shoes and running out of that interview. But I needed a job. I needed a job. I needed it. So I was thinking, so the former teacher, the neck, they snapped the neck and he had neck injury. Now he's wearing a neck support. Thank God he didn't die. And I'm going to be stepping in the shoes. So I couldn't quite understand how to process that, but I became really anxious. And they told me, don't worry, Sonia, we're going to be doing some training, restraining training, and all of that stuff. I said, okay. They will wonder what happened to me. Okay, so I was wondering, okay, what will I do at this point? What will I do at this point? But I needed this job. You will disappear so fast. Guess what? I did not disappear. I stayed. I completed the interview. It was interview stage, right? But I really wanted a job. Even at that, isn't it funny sometimes when we are so desperate to get something? That job was tied to my documents, so I needed a job. So when you are pushed to the wall, sometimes you go on opportunities that you would not normally take if you were not in those circumstances. That is the position where I was. So by the time the interview finished, you go home and they said, you got a job. I was like, okay, I couldn't even tell the people at home the level of the intensity that job will require for me. So they sent us on the restraining training. We learned how to restrain people like police officers would do. Then they said they will give us a walkie-talkie, the classrooms, we have camera and everything to reassure us that everything was going to be fine. So that was how I became that job. But on the day that I was supposed to start that job, hey, my stomach was tumbling, was rumbling, my head, I was feeling lightheaded. I had this anxiety, it was all over me. Because I was thinking, what if something happened to me? What do I do? But I got used to it. Guess what? I stayed in that job for 3 years. I got used to it, to the students and everything. My sense of humor came in handy when the students were kicking off. And if it doesn't work, we have to restrain them and then keep them in a cooling place where they have to cool down. So that's what we had to do. And I did that for 3 years. You might say, Sonia, are you mad? A job that made you so anxious. Now, as I'll share again the anxiety that I faced as a mother. That was when my daughter was starting school for the first time. So for people that have their children that are going to school in terms of nursery, you might feel this. Now your children are no longer going to nursery. They're going to be in the big school, in the reception class. You will be anxious, will my daughter be okay? Because they don't normally give them, my ones, they don't give them nap time in big schools. Will she be okay? She makes friends easily, so I was okay with that, but I was just thinking about other things. Now, that same child, fast forward years later, I was anxious again about getting into secondary school, traveling to school by herself and everything. So that was my anxiety as a mother. And then I had to homeschool my children for 2.5 years during COVID. And when they were going back, I was so anxious. I didn't want to be able to fit in after deschooling them for 2.5 years. I was really anxious. And at the end of the day, we've celebrated a year this September. We are going to be celebrating a year of going back to school. How did I do that? These are the things I'm going to be sharing with you today. I had to go back to school with my children. Now, that was my experience with anxiety as a student. After finishing everything about school during my postgraduate and everything 15 years ago, I had to go back to school just to tell my children that, listen, we can all do this. We are going back to school all together, begin the process and everything. So combining motherhood, combining business, combining every other thing, become a student again. I was really anxious on that first day. I was very, very anxious. How is it going to go for me? The lecturers and everything. Will I be able to fit in everything? But I survived it. I've done 1 year already. So now, by the time you finish this segment today, I really do hope that you will be more secure and you will no longer be anxious. And even when that feeling of anxiety comes knocking, you will be able to handle it with everything you are going to be learning in this session. So that is my experience with anxiety. Now, I'm going to move on to the next slide. A lot of us see anxiety, you're having this feeling and everything. But what we do not see is what is underneath the source of the anxiety. Anxiety never goes alone as a feeling. It comes with other feelings as well. Loneliness. Your child may be anxious, or you may be anxious for your child because you feel like it's a new school. For one reason or the other, maybe they are moving from primary school to secondary school to college, or maybe they've relocated. You might be thinking, will my child be lonely? Or the child will be thinking as well, will I be lonely? I'm having to make friends again. One of the top challenges that I've noticed that teenagers experience, even children, is making friends. They find it really, really challenging from the research that I've read and from teaching children as well. So loneliness might be a source of the anxiety, sadness that they've already gone attached to you or a certain routine and everything is going to change. Insecurity, when you're new to a new environment, you're not going to be secure that first time. There will be some insecurity as well. Feeling stuck with things that are going on. Maybe you just feel like I'm stuck. I'm going back to the same school where I never even had any friend. I'm stuck at this point, or where the teachers never even liked me. It might be shame. Nobody wants me. It might be I'm a failure. Those automatic negative thoughts that go through your mind. So when your child is exhibiting anxiety, I beg of you, do not be impatient with them, because sometimes it transfers to us and we experience that transference. But just calm down with them. Now let's niche this down and focus it on going back to school anxiety. So what you see is the symptoms of anxiety. You see that child telling you, Mommy, I feel sick. My stomach does not feel well. I'm aching. The child will be crying, clinging to you, because now he or she knows that it's time to go back to school. They may be having nightmares. They may not be sleeping well. They may be breaking out in sweat, big emotions. They may even tell you that when that school starts, I'm not going. Take me back to my old school. I'm not going. They may become defiant and everything. But what you are not seeing might be that child have some special needs, sensory overload. It's possible that child find it really, really challenging to bring in work home to us, do extra homework. It could be the child have learning difficulties. It could be that they don't like exam period. They don't like the test that goes with going to school. It could be that they don't like loud and busy classroom. I have a child, she does not really like noise. When the place is too noisy, she doesn't really like it. Or maybe it's that child that is just a warrior. Or you're that mom that wants to ensure that everything is perfect for your children. But you and I know that everything cannot be perfect. We are all working towards perfection. Or maybe you are anxious because you're in an unfamiliar environment. Or maybe it's a separation anxiety like I felt after homeschooling my children for 2.5 years. Or maybe you're feeling anxious about their travel arrangements. You don't know what's going to happen. If you could just type in the chat session, what is it about back to school that is making you anxious? Type it there, then we're going to be addressing questions that will pop up later. Now, when people experience anxiety based on separation, they are afraid that, oh, mommy, I'm going to be leaving mommy behind. It's always mommy most of the time. Or those that are close to daddy, I'm going to be leaving daddy behind. Daddy is not going to be here. I'm going to be on my own. So that's separation anxiety. Maybe a child has always been around you and now is starting reception. Or a child, maybe you have been dropping in school, now has to go to the big school by his or herself. Or maybe it's just, there's a reason for that separation anxiety. But that's one of the reasons why anxiety happens. Anxiety can also be as a result of people not easily interacting. Surprise you again, I have a child, if she's in a place, she does not make friends on time. She will have to study everybody before she will open up and become and start talking to people. So she is one of those. Okay, someone said one special needs child finding a safe space, adjusting to a new school curriculum, e.g., history, geography in a different country that has to do with relocation. Thank you so much for sharing. We'll be addressing that later. Thank you for sharing that. So it might be social anxiety, that child that doesn't make friends on time. They find it really, really difficult to make friends with other people. That might be the reason of the anxiety. There's also a generalized anxiety where people, they just generally, any little changes just tip them over. So you have to find out what is the cause of this anxiety. It's very important that you know the reason, because that's the only way you'll be able to help your child. And as a mother, you need to ask yourself, or a father, what is making me anxious? My child is progressing. Why am I so anxious about this? It could be you are not happy about the travel arrangement. Maybe you don't feel it's secure enough. Is it possible for you to start looking for alternative, for you to have a backup? Those are the things that we'll be looking at today. Some people as well, they have specific phobia for noisy places. I know sometimes children that are autistic, they find it really challenging when the place is too noisy. They have to hold their ears. We have people that have to wear ear defenders just to ensure that it's not affecting. It triggers, them to become really, really angry or apprehensive. So you have to look into that. What is it? All of these things have a solution. However, it's not one size fits all. So now, there are some people that will have anxiety based on attachment. There's positive attachment where a child is used to you, but he or she is also happy to go away and do his thing without you being in their space. There's another one where they call it the negative model, whereby a child becomes really, really anxious because the parents or the guardian or the person that they are used to, attached to, is not there. It makes them really, really anxious. So that's anxiety. Anxiety can pop up from that as well. There's the avoidance. Some people do not really bond well with their carers, with their guardian, with their family, due to different family circumstances. It might be because of divorce, because they're in a foster home, and different things like that. They might become really, really detached, and that will make them I used to have a child in the class that was clinging so much to any female staff. Any female staff, she just feel you are there just for her. It's almost as if you cannot talk to any other student. If any other student is trying to ask you questions, she get really, really aggressive towards them. And we're later to find out that this child was like that because her mom had left her when she was very, very young. And she had attachment issues. So any female, is as if she was trying to replace her mother with any female staff. So we have to be really, really careful, because those things, those attachments, led her to telling lies if you don't give her the attention that she needs. So there are different types of attachment styles. There is a fearful one where people become really, really fearful when the person that they are close to is not there, and they get into panic attack, or they have heart palpitation in the case for adults. Panic attack is nothing we should joke with. It's very, very serious. This is why I'm so passionate about this webinar today, because when you've been through something, then you understand if something is not dealt with, the implications of it. So what we could do in that is to listen and acknowledge that person's feeling. If you notice your child is having an attachment worries, you need to listen. Know exactly what it is that is making them anxious, because if you're going to work, definitely they will see you when they come back from school. So you need to acknowledge their feelings. Don't go into the place where you ask, what are you scared of? It's not hard, but you should tell them that don't trivialize their feeling. Acknowledge it and reassure them. Mommy is going to be back. Daddy will be back. By the time you get back from school, Daddy will be back, or I will pick you up at such and such a time. So it's all about reassuring them of when you're going to be dropping them and when you're going to be picking them up. Talk them through it and know exactly what it is that is making them feel anxious. Now, if you get to a state where you feel this is now an anxiety disorder, is getting really, really bad, where the person is having panic attack, you could speak to the school. There are people that work with them. For example, I counsel children in school. They can work with the school counselor. They can work with the pastoral support. Schools are very, very good with that. They will work with you. If your child happens to have individual educational plan, or they have the 304, 204, 304 plan, you could ask them. They'll have something in place, what they will use to ensure that that child, nothing hinders their learning. So it's all about liaising with school and see how you can work together to ensure that this child is not missing out or is not resulting to a refusal to attend school. Now, I'm going to be talking about more strategies to prepare back to school and to avoid anxiety. So you can establish and maintain connection with schools, like I said before. So, like for example, I already know the curriculum my daughter in primary school is going to be doing. The school have already sent it to me. If the school do not send it to you automatically, then you need to contact the class teacher when you're back. Contact the class teacher, ask them to please send you the curriculum of what they're going to be teaching. Now, this is mostly applicable in primary school, because in secondary schools, the students have different teachers. So it's all about going to the school to ask for those curriculum. They will likely share with you of what they're going to be doing part-time. This is important for you to be able to share things ahead for your children in case they want to do trips, in case they want to do activities that you know he or she likes. Maybe you have a child that is into crafts. These are the time you tell them that, you know, in this STEM, you're going to be doing some Egyptian crafts, you're going to be doing some African crafts. You know you love things like that. You can actually start researching things together. So what this will help that child to do is that they will become more confident when they are doing it in class. So this is the reason I try to look ahead, you know, with the curriculum. What are they going to be teaching them, apart from the weird things that are ongoing? But you can actually use this to prepare your child with activities, the trips, the topics that are linked to what they do. So for example, in PE, if they are doing maybe dance this time, or maybe they are taking them swimming, this is the time you share with your child. Do you know this time you're going to be doing swimming for your PE? And that child, if he or she is a good swimmer, will warm his or her heart. So it's just using different strategy. Liaise with your school, your children's school. It's very, very important that you do that. And if they have extracurricular activities, maybe your child happens to go to breakfast club or maybe after school club, you can even ask some of these breakfast club and after school club. They have some activities. Maybe you have the scientists coming in to teach children how to do experiments and things like that. You could sign them up. Sometimes they just liaise with them and share the activities that will help your child prepare to receive such activities when it is time to do it. Talk to the school, ask them. And also build up their resilient mind. You've been through things. You as a parent, let's not pretend to our children that we're not anxious. You could tell them, you know, mom is also anxious about going to work, you know, and you going to school. Mom is also anxious. Or maybe when you were a child, tell them a story. Our stories are so powerful, really, really powerful. But the problem is we don't tell them enough. I love sharing stories. I love hearing people's stories because those are things that you cannot easily just Google and you'll find out, right? So share your unique experience with anxiety with your child and tell them how you handle it. This will help them become resilient because we are their role model most of the time. You know, we are their role model. So model to your child what you did and tell them. If you have a child that is neurodivergent, then maybe they've not been through assessment for one reason or the other. Speak to your GP, let them do assessment with the necessary assessment, and then they will give them an individual education plan that people in the learning support department or in the pastoral team, they will then use them to support them in the class. The class teachers will also have these IEPs on the Plan 504 that I was talking about. Now, if your child does not have maybe autism, but you know that they have a special need, for example, maybe they are colorblind or one thing or the other that may not require assessment, That's where the Plan 504 come in. You can still speak to your GP, speak to school, and see how they can work things out to ensure that they understand if your child cannot read. Because I remember I used to be a reader and a scriber for students during their GCSE. There are some students that couldn't read. They couldn't read, but they can speak English very well. So what we would do during the exam period, that would not hinder them from doing their GCSE. You just have a scriber there. But whatever they say is what you're going to write. So the scriber will then, and the reader will then read the questions to the student, and then the student will verbalize the answer. You would write it. You are not allowed to add punctuation or anything the student did not say. So you just write it out for them. So that's what we call it. Some have readers, some are scribers. These are students that have the Plan 504. Okay, so you can use that to get support from school. I know some people like, oh, they want to label my child. Don't worry about that. It's not about the label. It's just between you and your child and the school. No other person will know whatever plan your child is using as a support. Moreover, we all need support in one way or the other. So please don't allow the stigma to stop you from accessing the relevant support that will help you, remain at ease and will help your child settle in well. Then the travel arrangements as well, that's another one. This is a big one for me personally. I really want to know how the child will get to school, how they will get back. Are they using a taxi? Are they using the school bus? Am I picking them up? Is their dad picking them up? Just make sure you do a trial run. If you have a child that is going to be using bus on her own or his own for the first time, do a trial run whereby you go with that child, write all the bus numbers that they need to take, write it down and do a trial run with them. And then do it several times. When you become confident, then you need to give them a phone and get them to then do it by themselves. Because if they get stuck, then they call you and say, oh, I don't know the next bus to take, then you can step in. So it's just a matter of giving them, that freedom bit by bit and trusting them, building their confidence up. If you're worried about mobile phones to give them, there are some safe mobile phones out there right now. That is just to make call, nothing about the social media stuff. Make sure your child understand if he or she is having double travel arrangements. Maybe sometimes you drop them off in the morning and they come back by themselves. Make sure they have clarity when you are picking them up, when they are going by themselves. That will build their confidence up. And if you have someone that live local that could help, where they walk to school together. My daughter used to go to school together with another girl. They'll meet up at the bus stop and everything. And it just made her life easier as at that time when that was travel arrangements. Identify the specific fear that you have or your child have. Identify it, speak to them. Speak to them. It's very, very important that you speak to them. It could be they are not happy that they don't have friends in school. It is possible that the way their teacher treated them the last time, they didn't like it. Like my daughter told me this afternoon. I said, we're talking about teachers. She was like, oh, my teachers don't like me. There's only one that liked me. I was like, what do you mean? And she then recapped what had happened in class. So I had to explain to her, don't worry about this. I'm sure this is what happened. I had to explain to her because she was already beginning to feel that teacher did not like her. And I had to also tell her that you're going to a new class, so you're going to have a new teacher. So it is possible something that have happened in school that has made them fearful of a particular teacher. You need to address it. Because if you don't speak to your child, you wouldn't know. So get them to talk. Some of them might not talk, but just get bit by bit, try and get it out. What is exactly are you worried about? Or are you worried about things in school? What's going on? Just ask. Some of them, it might be their school dinner. They don't like the school dinner in school. Maybe you look into pack lunch and alternative. So it's all about talking to them to the specific fear. And for you as well, have a talk with yourself. What is it I'm afraid of? Are there people that you could talk to? Are there parents that you could talk to? Because the problem shared is half solved. Then we have the academic as well. A lot of African parents, our expectation is there. Children's ability is there. or sometimes it's the other way around. So we have to be really, really careful with the expectations that we have for our children. If you want your child to do better than last year, then you need to put those supports there by going through their reports again and seeing where you need to address it. Because if you're one of those that will say, Mommy, I got A, you say, it's not your mate, I got A star. You are putting a bit of fear in that child that when they get back, they become really, really, when it's time for school, they become really, really anxious about it. Identify the subjects that your children need support and make plans with them on how to support them. Now, at this point, I'm just going to quickly talk about tuition. If you know you're going to be using any tuition services for your children, please do well to look at the contracts. I'm speaking from experience. There are some tuitions that you cannot opt out of until the end of the academic year. There are some tuition services that when you start in September, once you sign those contracts, those little letters, read it properly. Because there are some, once you sign it, when you tell them that, okay, my child cannot carry on for one reason or the other, they will tell you you're locked in and they will expect you to keep paying for a fee. Even when you withdraw your child from the classes, they will keep on sending you invoices. And that's the point they will not tell you sign the contract. So before you book your child for any tuition services, please make sure that you check very, very well, what is it about the contract that I need to know. Ask them, can I opt out at any time? You need to ask those questions. It's very, very important. Reflect and also discuss things. If your child finds it difficult to do the homework, this is the time that you reflect with them. Some children find it difficult to do schoolwork at home because to them it's like, I'm at home now, I shouldn't be doing schoolwork. So this is the time when you explain, find strategies to get them to do it. Maybe everybody in the house do their homework together, all the children, and then you pick up a book and be reading at the same time as you're supporting them through it. That might help them as well to realize that even the parents are studying, so I don't have any reason. So what you're doing, then you're modeling with them. You're modeling what you are telling them to do, not just telling. All of these things might look simple, might be like, oh, Sonia, I know these things, but is practicing it consistently. That is where the main thing comes in. It becomes effective. Now, another thing you can use is mindfulness. Mindfulness, a lot of us, I'm sure even while on this call now, we are probably thinking about what we are going to eat tonight, or maybe we're actually even making what we are eating tonight. And you're thinking about the clothes, iron the clothes, or maybe you're thinking about the meeting that you have tomorrow. We often live in the past or in the future. Very, very difficult for people to see people that will just tell you, I'm always in the present. It's very difficult. Now, this is where the anxiety comes from. School has not even started and we are getting anxious. So that just proved that we are anxious about the future. And anxiety often comes when we don't have clarity to things. When we have clarity to things, it helps us to understand what to do. So grounding techniques is really, really good. So if you know that your child is always struggling with anxiety, then, or even you yourself, this is the time you ground yourself. You can do it in the evening every night. Practice it in such a way that your child become used to this, that they can even do it by themselves. Grounding just means you using your senses. Okay, you use your senses to think about where you are at. Because often when people get into panic attack or serious anxiety or heart palpitation, is that they have completely lost the strength to be in control of what they're thinking and what they're feeling. So when you do this grounding exercise, you cut that flow. It's almost like you have a wire that is connected. And when you disconnect one of the wire, then it's not going to work. The electricity that is flowing through will not work. So when you disconnect that thought with something else, then that negative thought and that fear, the overwhelm, the frustration that will lead to anxiety will be cut off as well. So it's about looking around you, knowing where you are at, being aware of your environment. When you become aware of your environment, you are no longer thinking of the past or the future or even what is troubling you. And I just look for 5 things around you. You can even do it now as I'm talking. Look for 5 things around you. And if you're in a room where you are used to the surroundings, try and look for 5 things that you don't often notice or you don't often focus on. So you just look around, you look for those 5 things. So in the evening, you can get your children together and even you look for 5 things around, get them to look at it. And you can tell them, when you're feeling anxious and mommy is not there, daddy is not there, you can do this. Just look around you, those 5 things. Now you're using your senses, the sight. And then you can look for 4 things that is in terms of sound. So one thing I've noticed when I'm doing this, when you don't pay attention to the sound around you, you pick up very minimal sound. But when you pay attention to the sound around you, you can even hear sound from far off compared to where you are at. So you're paying attention to those things. Listen for 4 different types of sound. You can do that. And then the third one is smell 3 things, as in try and look around your environment and see or smell 3 things or 3 things that you can perceive, right? You can perceive maybe something is moist around you, or maybe your deodorant and things like that. You can try and do that. Even as we're talking now, try and take a deep breath in, out. I just wonder, what can I smell? What is that smell that I can smell? Or what can I perceive around me? 3 things that you can perceive around you. Then 2 things that you can taste. Okay, you can do that. Then 1 thing that you can touch. You can swap this around whichever way, but you're using your senses to ground yourself, that you become aware and focus on your presence, whereby you cut off the automatic negative thought, you cut off every other thing that you're thinking, because your thoughts is what affects your feeling, and then your feeling trigger all those emotions in your body. Then you can also think about the deep breath, where you are counting. So you can use your hand, whereby you take a deep breath in 5 for 5 seconds. On the 6th one, you release it from your mouth. So hold it and release it. All of these things will help cut off that state of anxiousness. You can try it while I'm even doing it and see if it works for you. These are some of the tools that you can do and even show your children to use anytime you're not around. So in terms of social interaction, if you're new to the country, or maybe you are new to your environment and you have people that are going to the same school as your child, maybe you find them in a church, or maybe your neighbors, you can arrange play dates or with old classmates, just so that those kids, they will meet up before school begins. So what that means is that when they get back to school, they want to talk about what they did during the school holiday, and that anxiety is gone. So you can arrange things like play dates with old classmates if you have contact with them. You can create a list on how to make friends. You can make friends with people that have similar values with you. So this is the time where you share your family values on how to make a good friend, choose a good friend. You can also share things maybe they do outside of school. I noticed that when people have similar things in common, they tend to gravitate towards one another. So you can show your kids that if your child is into sports, you can use that as well, to make friends. So those are some of the things. Oh, hang on, let me go back. Do role play and practice how to ask someone to play with them. Okay, you can do that. You might think this thing is funny, but when you do it with your children, you realize that you are helping them. So you need to also review strategies on how to handle bullies. You don't wait until your child is being bullied before you show them what to do when they experience bullying. You need to prepare them ahead of time on how to attend to bullies. Bullies thrive in secrecy. So you have to educate your child, walk away, but make sure you confide in me, confide in your father, talk to a teacher about it, learn to seek help, because when you don't speak up, the bullies, they tend to thrive in that and do even more. Encourage your child to learn how to take turns in talking, because nobody likes people that just dominate the conversation in a group. So if you have a child that is very boisterous, a child that is very outspoken, this is the time to tell them, see, when you're talking and other people are not talking, ask them questions and wait for them to respond. Because nobody wants people that are egocentric. They want people that you can talk and they will listen to you. A good friend should listen. So you are modeling all these things. When they're talking to you, you pay attention. You are taking turns and talking. You know, some of these things are the reason why some children struggle to make friends. The quiet ones as well. Show them how to make friends as well. But they don't have to have loads of friends. I noticed that when children have good friends in school, it makes it easy and they are able to manage anxiety when it comes up. There is also the mind strategy where you're tracking the things in the room, you are breaking your concentration, you can use a sense of humor, get, a good sense of humor. They can use that as well. When they come back from school, make sure you do this together as a family. The other strategy is when you're anxious, we can experience different things. So it's about getting them to name their feeling. They mustn't pretend about the way they feel. If they feel, oh, I feel like I'm drowning, or I feel like I want to faint, I feel lightheaded, I feel really sick to my stomach, let them express it when they come back from school. Name that feeling, find the source of that feeling, and find ways to increase, to reduce that feeling. Ask them, okay, what happened when you're feeling like this? Oh, mom, I start breathing really fast. Okay, when you're breathing really fast, what did happen? Do you think you should find a place to sit down, don't keep running around, or don't get into a moody state? Just find a place to sit down quietly, or speak to the teacher if you know it's really bad, so that when the teacher notices this sign, they will know what to happen and how to help your child if it's really, really bad. Now, school supply. Having the right school supply. This is one major one for parents and even children, because there are some children that like setting. There was this, I can't remember the name of the supply. There was this one that was raining one time, where when you get there, I think it's Lily Kelly's, they had this school supply stuff. And a lot of people, children, they got really, really, my daughter got used to it. Because when you get something, when you buy the supplies, you get something in return, but it was really pricey. So imagine having something that you like so much and then you lose it. That can trigger all sort of squabbles for children as well. So make sure your child have the right school supply, but please don't go for the ones that are so branded, so it doesn't lead to drama in the class. Take inventory of everything. And there are some labels as well that you can put in school uniform. Some schools now you have to come with your PE kits after COVID. But if you still have schools where you have to come with your PE kits, get some labels where you can iron on it so that your child can easily find their things. So you iron the sticker on their PE kits so that even when they change in the PE room, he or she can easily identify their kits. Ask questions around where to get school supply, make inventory of the things that is needed, and then just go with that. I know this can be a big headache for parents as well, where it can bring a bit of a financial constraint as well. August time at the end is always the most expensive month for school things. You're getting the school uniform, and before you know it, depending on the number of children that you have, you can spend up to 1,000, 800, 500. Depends on getting individual child things. And then by the time you add all the bills together, is a lot. So I would just say, don't buy things that are so expensive, so especially with pencil and rubbers and things like that. And the cardigans, you can get away with it. Get the school cardigans, but the inner top, the pink or the blue or the white uniform, you can get it from the shops. When I mean shops, the supermarkets. You can get those supplies from there, and then you get the branded skirt, branded cardigan. Why am I saying this? It will help to reduce the cost. It will help to reduce the cost. I remember when my children had to go back to school last year, we spent up to about £800 just getting school supplies for 3 children, because we're starting from ground zero. So if you know you're really struggling financially and that's bringing up anxiety, do you know you can go to school and ask them for donations. There are some schools where they donate things. Who is going to know? Let's drop our pride. Nobody is going to know that this uniform your child is wearing, some of them were from the donation box in school. Nobody is going to know. The school staff will not tell. You are not going to open your mouth. Your child will not know. So if you know you are really struggling financially and that's bringing up anxiety, I would say go and get supply where you can find it free or get support. There are some churches as well that do back to school supply. They will help parents with stationaries. Just look around and see where you can get the necessary support. I will always say there's no shame in asking. Every little helps. And I know that financial constraint can bring up anxiety. So let's do well to ask for help, accept help when it is available. Now, the other ways I can address this is focusing on the positive. We call this reframing in coaching. So you reframe the person's thought, you acknowledge the person's anxiety or the source of anxiety. So I don't know what the rules are in the class. Now, this is the time where you find a school handbook. I know that each teacher have different school policy, but majority of them will stick to the school policy. If it's the traffic light system for the primary school, whichever one, so the code, so that the children will know the code. Explain to your child that they might use the traffic light system. Explain what you know about it. So red being, the person has not been behaving well. Amber, a warning. Green, the person is behaving well. Explain that. The class teacher will explain. They will explain all these rules. But if you want to download your child behavior policy, especially those going to secondary school, this is a good time to do it. You can get it online on the school website. Go through it with them. What you can do, what you would do that can bag you detention. Let them know. Please stay away from it. Some child will only need to just laugh at the joke their friend said to their teacher. Maybe so, oh, mimic their teacher. And then he or she just laugh. And when that teacher turn around, both the person that said it, both the person that laughed, sometimes some teacher will just give you detention, or break detention. So you have to be really careful. Let them know when people are being naughty in class, don't participate in it. Explain the school rules to your child even before they start the school, so that they will know that you are aware of the school policy as well. Some might say, I won't know anyone in the school. Let them know. Change it again. I am good at making new friends. My teacher won't know me. My teacher will get to know me. I am scared, mommy. Remind them of the things that they've done, even if it's a swimming activity. Because I remember I used to tell my daughter, remember the first day you started your swimming class? You were really scared, but now you can swim like a fish, right? You were very scared then, but you did not give up. You kept on going, and now you can swim very well. So the same thing will happen when you go to this class. You might be scared the first time. It's okay to be scared, but don't worry. You are going to overcome this, and you show that you are brave, okay? So it's about reminding them of what they've done previously, and just keep the communication line open. Even for those going to college, you'll be surprised that some children, maybe their friends, they are not going to the same college as them, and they will be anxious as well. So don't focus on the little ones alone if you have different age grade. Try and see to all of them to ensure that they are okay, even though the teenagers try to form like, I'm okay, mom, I'm all right, mom. They are not really okay. Speak to them, ask them how their day went. Now, stay connected to your child. There are ways that you can do this. Maintain the connection with your child when they come back from school. And you can even write those little notes. Now, for everybody on this call, it's not only spouses that write love notes to one another. You can write some good notes in your child's lunchbox. Try it. You are doing very well, my daughter. I am proud of you. Challenges make you stronger, my daughter. You are a strong girl. You are unstoppable, son. Write it there. Just drop it. So imagine your child wants to have their lunch and they just see that note. Even their pencil case, drop those notes there that will just endear them, that no matter how their day is going, when they read such notes in their backpack, in their pencil case, in their snack bag, they just have that connection with you, and it makes it all the best, right? And you notice that when you start doing that, they might even copy you and also leave one in your bag as well. You can draw reminders on their hands as they are going. Just draw something on their hand. You can give them a squishy ball. We used to have children in school that will have some things when they're getting anxious and they are holding it and squeezing it. The teachers can easily see that, oh, this child is getting anxious. And if that child becomes irrational, the teacher will be understanding because she has already cited that he or she is squishing that ball really, really hard and very often. So this is why I will keep saying, always have a good relationship with your children's teacher. You can even apply fragrance to something, maybe to their uniform where they smell it. Your fragrance, they think about mom and they are okay. So people put family pictures in their children's backpack, just a little one, cut it and just put it there. You know, those things makes a lot of difference. And then in the house as well, more connections. Celebrate the start of the school term, right? Maybe next week, Sunday, when we're all getting ready, you can make a meal, make a big deal out of it, set it up. We don't have to wait for Christmas, Easter to have those, fancy lunch. You can have it at home. Ask the children, how are you feeling about school? You also talk about your own, especially if you guys have done relocation. Speak to them. Parents often just relocate. You will not ask your child, do you want to go to UK? You just bring them along. That's what we often do. So this is the time where you connect with your child. Speak to them. How are you feeling about this? How are you feeling about this? What do you think? Is there anything that you want to talk to me about? Just find a way to talk to them. And also you can create something, when I talk about values earlier on, you can create values with your child where you all just do a craft activity, maybe after having that lunch. Like for this, I love this example that I put here, and do a family craft together. I said, in our house, we hug often. We try new things and we love new things. We grow our brains. We dream, create, and inspire. We do our best. We dream big. We do the best version of you. That is authenticity. Get your children to create craft like this as their values. If they have room spaces, they can put it in their room. If they want to do a mini one and take with them to school, that is another way they can do that as well. So that is me in a nutshell talking about anxiety. We've shot a little bit with time, but that is the end of the presentation. Any questions? Thank you all so much for listening. I'm going to stop sharing now so I can see your beautiful faces. All right, any questions? You can unmute or put your hand, your digital hand up. And if there is anything you're worried about that I have not talked about, we have about loads of parents on this call where we can share ideas together. You're welcome, Bash. You're welcome, Roots. Thank you all for thanking me. Right, so any questions, you can unmute and ask your questions so we can address it as we come along.
Okay, I'll go.
Okay, who is that?
This is Bash. I can hear an echo.
Oh, hi, Bash. Yeah, I can't hear an echo. I can hear your voice.
Yeah, it's like the echo has disappeared. Thank you so much. This has been very helpful. I was taking notes. I was like, family craft or family values. We should probably do something and see what the children come up with. So in our case, we have two kids. One extremely eager to spin it positively. You've met my two kids, so you probably know which one is which. One is extremely eager. One is very appears very reserved, and he's neurodivergent. And we only recently discovered it and had just gotten to the point where we had things in place, and then now we've moved countries. So the anxieties are around him being able to, we coach as much as we can. We try to model the way he should present himself and advocate for himself. but there's always that anxiety that hopefully he'll be able to do it effectively and not get into trouble because he's going to respond to things different from the neurotypical kids.
Yes.
I would say that's my biggest anxiety, that the people who don't know him, who are meeting him for the first time, will they be patient enough with him to be able to see his behavior for what it truly is versus what it at first glance appears as?
Yeah, I hear you, Bash. I would say work with the school. Does he have an assessment already from
He has
his
an
previous?
assessment. Yes, he has an assessment. He had, they called it ILP, but it's the IEP equivalent that was put in place. So we brought all that, but we don't have anything from here.
Right, okay. So what you would do, once you have the placement from the school, you have to share that with the school. You have to share that with them. It's very important because what they do, excuse me, they disseminate that information to the class teacher, to the learning support officers, in short, everybody have that record. So this thing that you're worried about, as a teacher, when you pick up your class list, the IEPs, you have it. So what you do, you need to know these children. It's very important. So that would then help them to support them in the right way. And even when he exhibits this character that you're talking about, maybe he might sound abrupt or something, the teacher would understand that it was mentioned there that it could be like that, right? And then there will be something there as well. I'll say, this is how you manage it. This is how you address it. So they will have to use that. And even when other kids as well, in the class, if they see it happen, they will speak to it. They'll speak to it as well. But if it happens just that the teachers are not there or the teaching assistant is not there, I'm sure it will be able to, those kids, they know. Kids know. They know in school that, okay, this person is behaving like this. Because I've had my children come to school that, oh, this child threw the chair today, or this child did this today. And I'll ask what happened. I'll come say, oh, I think the teacher knows why he's doing it. They know. The children know, and they will cut some slacks for them. Now, there will be some that may want to take advantage. Now, that is when you have to then tell him on how to handle himself. If he has to walk away, build up scenarios. That's why I said, don't wait until situations happen. Prepare them on how to handle themselves when things like that happen. Walk away, or perhaps go and tell a teacher. If it persists, then you will have to go in to pull that across so that it can be nipped in the bud and don't let it escalate out of hand. Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's very helpful. He's actually one of those kids who need earmuffs because when places get very loud, he just, yes, you can tell that he's very uncomfortable.
Yes. That is true. Just get the ear defenders. They're very fancy these days. Get them to wear it because during the break time, lunch time, it can be really, really noisy. Or when they are transferring from one class to another, it can be really, really noisy. So if you can just get those things and wear it, and the teachers know, so that the leadership, when they're walking around, they don't start asking, why is he headphone or something? But they should know.
We've gotten those harassments before, like you're listening to music in class and he's like, no.
If a teacher says that, it means they've not read the IEP. Because if you read the IEP, you should know that that child is wearing that to defend their ear so that they don't get trained. Yeah, so it's very important that they read those IEPs. Just do well to let them know. It's very, very important. And they can even add their own and things like that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Welcome. And Baj, don't be a stranger. If you want to talk, I'm here. You know that, don't you? Yeah? Yes. You know, right? Don't be a stranger. They're going to settle you well. Don't worry.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I can see all the comments. Thank you for thanking. Oh, yeah. And that's why, Mrs. Akachiko, you have your hand up. Please unmute.
Thank you very much. I was just going to reiterate what you told Baj. Please, it is your responsibility to make sure that the teacher and everyone, every professional working with your child read that IPS, because it is very important that he's supported accordingly. And if they are not doing that, you can take them up on that. So that child must not be subject to any form of discrimination for no just reason. Please make sure, always check in with the teacher, make sure that everyone is reading it. It is there to help them, to support him appropriately, and to support him in the best possible way. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that awesome contribution. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Funky, if I don't pronounce your name right, please correct me. You have your hand up, please unmute.
Thank you very much for the season. I have a son who he's just going into reception.
Yeah.
And at nursery, he used to have this friend that even on few occasions where we've gone to excursions together, if the boy doesn't do this, he doesn't want to do anything. Like if they are together, he wants to do what the boy wants to do. And I'm really scared for them to go together for them to be together in the same class at reception. I don't know how to, is it that separate them or talk to him to be himself instead of doing what that his friends wants to do all the time. Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. So what you do, my daughter used to have two friends, we call them Three Musketeers. And sooner rather than later, the teachers realized that if you have those two or those three together, they will not do anything. So they separated them. Thank God they had three form entry to the school and they put them in different form. So they will only see each other during the lunchtime and break time. So if you know this is really, really a problem, you could just mention it to the class teacher and say, my son is really, really close to his friend, and sometimes they can get carried away so easily. So please, can you ensure that they don't sit together so they don't distract one another? I'm really, really bothered that they might not do any learning if they're together, and I don't want him getting in trouble. So if you could just make sure that they don't sit together during circle time or when they are working on anything, please do well to put them apart so they don't sit together. Lunchtime, break time, they can play, that's fine. But during school time, I don't want him getting distracted because I don't want him not learning anything. So you can let the teacher know.
All right, then I will. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, just let the teacher know. Oh, Angel said, thank you so much, Ma. My son loved those notes a lot. He liked to wake up to notes under his pillow. You see, that's even one step forward. You don't even have to put it only in their lunchbox, in their pencil case. You can actually even add it under their pillows so they wake up to such lovely notes in the morning. That will set a good pace for them. Thank you so much, Angel, for sharing that. I'm going to borrow that. You know, when your child will wake up in the morning, look under the pillow, not only when the tooth fairy is about to come, and then read that and wake up in such high spirit. I think that's a beautiful one. Thanks for sharing. Is there any other question? Any other question? If there is no other question, I am going to end the call. Thank you all so very much for joining. I really urge you to please share it with parents. Not everybody will tell you that they are getting worried or they are getting anxious. You know, just share it with people so that more people can use these the steps that we've shared. They can use it to help themselves. You know, they said, leave no one behind, each one help one. That's how we make the world a better place. I want to thank you all so much for joining me again today. But before you go, I've got two events coming up in September. On September 10th and September 24th, please do not miss it. I'll be sending the link to your email. I'm saying this because the one coming on the 10th is about how the environment affects your child. It's very, very important that you come. There are certain things that are happening that you need to come and learn. You need to come and just listen and how to prevent it. Children do not just wake up and become defiant. Things happen. It's just the same way your computer have a virus and it contaminates every of your program on your system. And you'll be wondering, how come my documents are corrupted? Let me tell you, the day the virus enters your system, It might be just an innocent click that you clicked, and then it started corrupting your files. You wouldn't know until you want access to those files. The same thing with our children. When things start happening, we don't know until the defiance and every other drama starts before you realize that, oh, what is going on here? So September 10th, that session, I'm bringing on Dr. Alo with me. That session is going to be very, very interesting. Please look out for the emails and sign up for it. Then September 25th, I am bringing an assessor. So if you have a child that is neurodivergent and you want to ask questions on that day, please do come. She's an assessor that will tell you what to do if they are going to assess your child, whether it be ADHD, whether it be autism, dyslexia, whatever you call it. She is going to be coming down to educate us on the processes. And if you have any question, Dr. Bumi will be joining us and she will be explaining everything to you. So please look out for those emails and sign up for it and just come and help yourself with this useful information. Knowledge is power, but remember, applied wisdom is where the changes and the transformation begins. Thank you all so much. Remember, September 10th and September 24th. They are both on a Sunday. So look out for my emails and I will see you soon. Bye and have a blessed day.